No.
Oh, it just froze. Don't do this to me.
What, the feed, bro?
Oh my gosh. I hate YouTube so much.
It's working right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. All right. Nice. Oh, that scared the bejesus out of me.
Can you guys hear us and see us? Do we sound super deep voiced and sexy? We got 3 people, so that's good. Unless one of them is me.
What up, everybody? What up? What up? My connect though. What's up, everybody? Give me 2 seconds.
Sounds better than last week.
Oh, yeah. We good? You sound awesome?
You mean all over the place, like scatterbranded, or just?
Oh, for sure. All right.
We stand by you, Hawks. Good luck.
Let's rock the show. Yeah, we are anticipating
Not getting it.
the only way we'll bring this up in the podcast is if the Hawks get number 1.
Yeah, if the Hawks don't get the number 1, the only thing you're going to see is my head probably sink into my hands for a second, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
All right. Are we ready?
Jenna is overstimulated.
Impossible.
Well, hopefully we can either add to that.
We're not that good.
Maybe we'll calm things down.
All
All
right, here we go. If you guys could, please share it on all your social media accounts that we're on the podcast. We're doing it live right now.
Facebook it. Twitch it.
I don't know how much success we'll have against the draft lottery, but we'll take a stab at it.
Well, I mean, as soon as they find out who the number 1 pick is, this thing only lasts like 30 minutes.
Oh, I know. I hate these things. I was telling someone today, I was like, drafts, NFL drafts, NBA drafts, even well, I guess MLS draft a little different because I'm just so invested in Atlanta United, but
right,
whatever. All right. How do you want to start this thing?
Well, I could call you out for your jinx actually working in our favor this week.
Let's do it.
All right.
What's up, Atlanta? This is the Mouths of South podcast brought to you by Dirty South Soccer in the palatial 680 The Fan Studios. I am Eric Quintana. Sam Franco, Josh Bagriansky. Make sure you send them a love tweet celebrating him or what is it? Wishing him luck.
Yeah.
Although I think it's
semifinals,
over, right?
Jude Hills. I don't know when they started. I mean,
hopefully by the time you listen to this podcast, they've won. Congratulate him on the big win. Going to the finals, another week without Josh.
They said the final would either be at McEachern and Gwinnett or Mercer and Macon. So I'm like, really hope it's McEachern.
Him winning. I can't tell if it's good for us or bad for us because we either get more credible or it's one more week without him. I don't know. I can't decide.
Well, I mean, obviously for the long-term health of the podcast, I think Josh getting more credibility can only help us.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Maybe for these next few weeks, and then Atlanta United playing like every weekend and every midweek for the past 2 weeks has really sort of thrown us for a loop in terms of how we do this because we can't do the radio show on Wednesday when there's a game. We'll do one tomorrow because the game's not till 10 o'clock.
Typically, we would do one podcast and then the radio show.
Right.
Ideally, we would do the podcast, the radio show the same night, Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
But because of the schedules, because we have lives and we work and we do all sorts of other things, Josh coaches and does other things. Sometimes it's not possible. So this week is kind of it's crazy because we're podcasting tonight, Tuesday night.
That's right.
We've got the radio show tomorrow night. We've got the game tomorrow night. And then we've got Josh and I, assuming Josh isn't – look, I hope that he goes to the finals.
Yes.
Should that not
we
be
may
the
or
case,
may not have a show Thursday.
Should that not be the case, we'll have kind of like a reaction show on Thursday for you guys. To your podcatcher, search Dirty South Soccer because that is us and Five Strike Final. We are now kind of banded together on the same sort of podcast platform through SB Nation. So If you're wondering why our podcast has sort of disappeared, is because it's now part of Dirty South Soccer. So go to your podcatcher, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean. What other ones are there? I don't even know what. I just use Stitcher.
Yeah.
Anyways, go to any of your podcatchers and search for Dirty South Soccer. We'll be tagged right out. Oh, you'll hear our episodes.
Hey, the amount of time it took you to say all that,
you already did it. Boom, done.
So yeah, all you gotta do. I'm gonna subscribe right now for my own account. Boom, I just did it, and bam, that's easy, simple. Yeah, just Dirty South Soccer. That's all you gotta do. Go to the iTunes store if you're doing it on iTunes. Type in Dirty South Soccer, and you'll see it. Dirty South Soccer for Atlanta United fans. And click on that. And the last 2 episodes of Mouths of the South are up here, as well as all of the episodes of 5 Stripe Finals.
Wham, bam, you know the rest.
Simple.
All right, let's dive into Atlanta United.
Hey, has Orlando ever beaten Atlanta United?
Not yet.
Still hadn't happened.
3 years, and at least sort of like a third or a fourth into this year.
Although the last 20 minutes of that game, it did look like Atlanta United were going to have to hold on for dear life.
But you never thought that Atlanta United was going to lose that game. At the very least, they were going to give up the points.
Well, if you were following your Twitter account,
they would still walk away with one. Oh yeah, no, I absolutely. And look, don't act like no one else in that building was thinking, oh gosh, we're definitely going to give up one.
I'm just saying, I think you were like, it's going to happen.
I was preparing for the worst.
It's going to happen.
I was prepared. And look, if they had scored on one of their chances that they had earlier in the match, we'd be looking at a 2-0 win, and that goal that I thought they would score.
Hashtag blame Eric works either way here, though, because if they had scored, then everybody would have been like, see, Eric was tweeting all this stuff about they were going to score. So they would have probably blamed you then. Or hashtag blame Eric if you're on the Orlando side of things, because you jinxed them into not scoring. So your jinx knows no bounds, knows no side of the rivalry. It just kind of floats around mischievously, taking out whoever it wants to.
I am the soccer god now. Or the dread god now.
Yeah, that's right.
I become the dread god.
You control the dread god. You're like Bran Stark. You've warged into the dread god.
For sure.
Now you just need to roll your eyeballs
I'm no
back.
longer human. I don't know what I am.
You're the 3-eyed 5-stripe.
Oh man, could that be my nickname?
3-eyed 5-stripe?
I'll get a tattoo. I'll shave my head. Get a tattoo on the back of my head. And I'll be called the 3-eyed 5-stripe.
All right, we're making this a thing. We're going to knight
1 million
Eric.
subscribers. 1 million subscribers. I will tattoo an eyeball on the back of my head.
We're going to knight Eric, the 3-eyed 5-stripe, right here tonight. But in all seriousness, this game, again, Atlanta United, proving to be a team that can withstand that amount of pressure. Brad Guzan had a hell of a game.
Oh, stood on his head.
He did, absolutely.
Look, I will say.
The team was tired. I mean, in the last 20 minutes of that game, they were dead.
I wanted to do this before as part to start the show. I remember what I wanted to start the show with because I thought it was good to just kind of level out the content creators a little bit. I'm not bashing anybody, but it's kind of funny how we all vary podcast to podcast, content producer to content producer. I just consider Atlanta United Fan TV a podcast because
of course, just content in general.
Yeah, exactly. But it's us. Now's the South, home before dark. We're on the patience. Still a work in progress. It's looking great now. We're not on the fired Frank DeBoer bandwagon. You've got soccer down here. It's everything is sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops. Everything is perfect with Atlanta United. And then it's Atlanta United Fan TV, who's still pretty much fired DeBoer.
Yeah, and I mean
they've eased up on it a little bit, but they're still fire Frank DeBoer.
At least it's not just a two-party system. You know, we do have multiple.
Look, whatever you're into right now.
There's all sorts of takes out there. You're totally right.
Whatever bucket you want to dip your hand into, you can go ahead and you've got something for that. That's the beauty of having all of us.
I think in general,
and I wouldn't change that.
I think in general, one thing everybody can agree upon is that, you know, and this isn't something that necessarily even you have to agree upon because it's fact. It's not really an opinion. It's still early in the season, and it's especially for a player like Pity Martinez who scored a brilliant goal, a goal that we've seen coming. You know, the guy's hit the crossbar. The guy has done a lot of great work, within this team, just hadn't broken that duck yet. And for him to score his debut goal in such
on a golazo,
great fashion, that is a golazo. And we'll have to ask Doug Roberson, who is the official authority on all things golazo. We'll have to see what he thinks about it. But
I hope you would.
I agree with you because the way he whipped that thing in, it was both precision and power. And you get that very rarely in a shot because he side-footed it, essentially, but put a bunch of power behind it, and that's very hard to do and guide it into the goal the way he did.
And that should be on paper. That should be a relative. I'm not gonna say relatively easy. I don't want to diminish what
for him,
P.D. Martinez did. Right. But going across the face of goal like that, it should have been.
Well, usually you're going to catch people flat-footed doing that.
I would need to be in Rowe's position to kind of see it for sure. Mm-hmm. But typically, when it's going across the face of goal like that and curving away from goal,
real tough.
It can but I'm saying it can be easy to sometimes block.
Huh?
But the placement from PD, from the power behind it,
that's I think what I'm getting at.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it all made that much harder for Rowe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was just a great goal for him to get off the schneid there, so to speak. And
look, you can talk about how he what he said after the match and how he feels pressure, all that stuff. He was so happy to have that goal.
Of course,
come on.
Well,
you see the reaction.
I mean, Darlington Nagby still doesn't have a goal, and when he gets his, it's going to be the same thing. That sort of the shoulders relax a little bit. You can feel the kind of pressure, and Nagby doesn't have near the pressure that P.D. Martinez has. So I think. Something just happened with the draft lottery. We'll get to it in a second. But I think that's actually the second pick for the Hawks because that means that the trade. So the Hawks got the number 10 pick. Sorry we're doing this live here, but that is one thing that has happened. So I think Eric got a little upset, got a little worried there.
No, I don't want to talk about it. Unless they get number 1, I don't care. But yeah, you look at the way Atlanta United played against Orlando. You look at it's obviously 1-0 match. Mm-hmm. I was impressed with the first half. I was less impressed with the second half. I thought that the subs could have come in a little earlier. That's where look. No one's asked in the media, and that's on me. That's on everyone. Not necessarily on anyone else, but no one's specifically asked about the reasons why he kind of waits as long as he does to make subs. And in some cases, he doesn't use all 3 subs. It's at this point starting to become a pattern, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I look at how quickly or how obvious it became that some players were just gassed. We're done, and it took. I want to say the first sub came in the 75th minute or so. I can look that up, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it was late enough to where you're like, okay. Subs need to happen now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you figured you started seeing Orlando kind of get back into it. You started seeing Orlando.
Well, not just get back into it. I mean, they were peppering the Atlanta United.
Which is why I tweeted out a couple times Atlanta United needs a second goal because they're going to get scored on. You as tired as they were, I did not expect them. And good on Atlanta United. Good on Brad Guzan. Good on the defenders. Good on everyone. Good on them for not allowing that second goal or that the only goal from Orlando. As tired as they were, as compact as the schedule is, that's going to be a major issue, and to see them kind of ride that out. And I know it could have been worse had some other players been in the picture, like Nani and whatnot. But
yeah, I'd still like to know what exactly happened there. Nani, if it was injury or
turf. He didn't want to deal with the turf monster, in all likelihood. But that's. I'm glad they weathered that storm. It shows that they've got that mental toughness to kind of stay in it as long as they possibly can. But again, I think Frank DeBoer, and this is the one thing I will kind of, harp on, or at least nitpick him on, is I feel like he should be subbing sooner on a more consistent basis, especially knowing that, these guys are playing like the third game.
They're running ragged for sure. Yeah. There's no question about it. And there hasn't been, he even talked about this in the post-match about squad rotation or lack thereof, and kind of saying that essentially he doesn't believe in just rotating these guys in without having earned playing time or whatever. I'd have to look up the full quote to attribute everything that he said there, but basically, kind of to paraphrase, it's like the best players are going to play, and then when we have to put some new guys in there, we will. But it's not something he's just going to do. So I would agree with you that it needs to happen earlier, especially in this game, because you could tell the players were just gassed. That's why Orlando was kind of able to just continue to keep putting on shot after shot. And, quite frankly, these subs all kind of happening, right around the same time. It's like, maybe space those out a little more, give some guys, especially some of the guys in the midfield, some relief.
Let me actually see when exactly that sub happened, because I feel like it was late, but it didn't actually. Let me see. It doesn't say.
Man, you're right. That's a great.
Well, carry me on, man. Carry me on.
No, I'm going on. That's what I'm saying. I'm about there. It's just I didn't realize that that was going to be the match recap that you found didn't have the substitution times. But here's the thing about Frank DeBoer and these subs. You know, he's got we talk about all the time. He's got his set way of kind of doing things, and this is all about a process that we're kind of waiting to see how it plays out. And right now, obviously, Atlanta United are playing very good soccer, but at the same time, you know, you play with fire too many times, you're going to get burned, and kind of not allowing your players to all feel like, you know, they have the required amount of rest because this team, again, has been very gassed the past few days. They're playing another Sunday, Wednesday game or set of games this week. So you talk about rotation, and I get it, you know, you're not going to rotate just to rotate, but at the same time, this is a rotating to rotate. It's rotating to save your players' legs.
Yeah, for sure. I think I found it. Yeah. First sub came in the 76th minute. So yeah, 75th minute.
I mean, how would you have done it? Maybe 65th?
I don't.
I mean, is there a?
You just noticed a lot sooner than that Orlando was picking up the pace.
Yeah,
you needed to make some kind of change, bring in some kind of spark. This is typically the time where I would be like, all right, Tito needs to come in to, you know, stretch the field, to add a little bit of life, to do something. This is kind of one of those moments where you would have Marco last year come in, and he would have been running around the top of the, you know, in the, you know, Orlando's defensive third, to just try to put pressure on the players with the ball. Just, yes, a fresh leg, someone that could run around and just, you know, not necessarily create havoc, but just apply a little bit of pressure enough to where, you know, it's not as easy in the final 20, 15 minutes for Orlando City. That's where I would utilize the subs a little bit better. And that's a small point considering, you know, four wins straight, four straight clean sheets, 5 out of the last 6. It seems to me that at this point, and I don't really care who they played, how they played them, you've gotten five wins in the last 6 matches, 12 points in the last. No, is that right? 12 points in the last. 15 in the last 18.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't care how you've done it. You've completely turned around the beginning of the season, essentially. If you want to kind of quarter that off by itself, you completely turned that around. I asked Frank DeBoer, you know, did he feel like the issues and concerns to start the season are kind of gone, and you can kind of, you know, not necessarily start the season afresh, but look beyond this point and think, all right, now that that's over with, essentially that was my question, and he's full steam ahead. He's not concerned about what was in the past. He's not looking at, sure, there are things that he can work on. There's things you learn from the past, and I think that's what I was giving him a lot of patience for. I was letting him take a few moments to figure out the team that he had, to see where players played best, to give his players a time to kind of acclimate themselves to the system, to playing with Pity, to, you know, learning themselves Joseph's new role. You know, it's Joseph himself has had to adapt to this new system. Everyone's had to adapt. So to give them a chance to kind of figure things out through CCL, as hectic as that was, through the opening start of the season, where they clearly prioritized CCL over regular season. You go into those matches at the beginning of the regular MLS season with the situations that kind of presented themselves in terms of the bad weather, DC United by itself, and then Columbus. You know, those are all scenarios that play a part in the beginning of the season and how bad it kind of all started for Atlanta United. But now it's sort of, we're at that point now where, all right, 5 out of 6, 4 straight. You haven't a lot of goals in the last 4. You've got a lot of momentum heading into Vancouver, and I know there's a lot of rotation expected. Michael Parkhurst and Darlington Nagbe not flying out, not making the trip for that one.
Andrew Carlton did make the trip. That was something.
Carlton making the trip. We'll see if he starts.
Nagbe not making the trip too is big because, again, this is a guy that, you know, unless you're kind of got your eyes on him the whole game, you don't necessarily see it. But the sort of straw that stirs the drink kind of player that he is in that midfield. What are they going to do without him? That passing and that play that he does such a great job of linking up. So that's going to be a big question. You also look at just kind of the run of games we saw towards the end of the Orlando game, as you were talking about there, and eventually it's going to catch up to you at some point. And what happens too later down the road, this is something we'll talk about ad nauseum, I'm sure, but with Copa America and Gold Cup coming up, I mean, those are things that could ravage the squad, and it wouldn't even be injuries.
Yeah, I look at, if you look at the schedule after Vancouver, you're playing the Red Bulls, and that's a tough one because not only are you going back across country, but you're playing a team that is going to press the hell out of you. Mm-hmm. It's going to press you all up and down the field. I don't know where I heard this from, but there was a general consensus that Orlando didn't press in this match, and I did not see the same match that some of these people were saying, because the reason Atlanta United scored the goal they scored is because Orlando was pressing.
Right.
because LGB decided we're going to play along over the top to kind of stretch this game out a little bit. And he saw the opportunity to present himself. Joseph does a half dummy. I don't even know what to call it, but it works for me. Pity gets a head on it to Villalba, who does his thing and gives it back to Pity, and we see the end result. But that's a result of Orlando pressing.
Well, it was a very
and they did it quite a lot.
It was a very Atlanta United under Tata type goal, because that's kind of how they would play. They would play a team against the press, turn the ball over, shoot down the other way really quickly. So it was that counter-attacking goal that we got so used to seeing last
year. No, it wasn't until Atlanta United, clearly was going to possess for a good while, or was in possession, that Orlando decided we're gonna have as many guys behind the ball as we can. But that wasn't their plan. That was just what they were going to do while Atlanta United was going to try to possess. But while Atlanta United had the ball in their own defensive half, they were going.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part, Orlando was trying to create some havoc. You literally saw it towards the end of the match. I don't know where the idea that they were sitting back and bunkering came from.
No, they definitely weren't.
I saw that. I was like, what?
Yeah, they definitely weren't doing that, and you could tell definitely, as the game progressed, that I'm surprised. I was kind of giving you a little bit of a hard time, but in all seriousness, the goal did look like it was coming from them, and for Atlanta United to have been able to hold off, a little bit of luck there probably, but at the same time, we talked about earlier how Guzan, was an impenetrable force.
Yeah.
And it helped Atlanta continue, and that was the main reason that Atlanta still is unbeaten against Orlando, because Brad Guzan had a heck of a game there, and Atlanta was able to capitalize on a moment of maybe overzealousness from Orlando.
Landon Schill says, do you think he waited to sub because he wanted the security of the second goal, or because he's planning to use more bench players in the Vancouver game? It's a great question, just because you expect a lot of rotation. The fact that Nagby and Parkhurst aren't making the trip lets you know that there's clearly going to be rotation. And so what I'll say to the podcast that want to fire Frank DeBoer, and the people in general that want to fire Frank DeBoer.
The portion of the Atlanta United fandom that wants to fire Frank.
Don't expect a win. You'd be happy with one. You want one, of course. But let's be real. If it's a bunch of youngins who haven't gotten a lot of playing time, actual playing time, match time in this system, and Andrew Carlton, Pereira.
No, yeah, Dion Pereira is definitely starting.
Mikey Ambrose, maybe. Mikey Ambrose has obviously played a little bit more than some of the other guys, but you get what I'm saying. Don't freak out if this isn't a great game for Atlanta United.
Well, I think at this point, it's not about,
That's not to say they shouldn't play well, but.
Of course, but it's not about, squad rotation just to rotate in guys or just to give guys a chance or whatever. At this point, Frank DeBoer has to figure out who some reliable options are because as I mentioned earlier, you could be facing a scenario where Joseph, Pitti, Tito, Barco, Guzan, Nagby are all gone at the same time. And if that were to happen, it'd be catastrophic for this team. Obviously, you always want the players on your team to be in contention to be playing for their national teams, because that means you've got really good players.
Yeah.
That being said, this is the time that can come to bite you when you've got two concurring tournaments in the same hemisphere that you play your league in. So it's going to be tough, and I think right now Frank DeBoer really does have to play the Carlton. He's got to play Ambrose. He's got to play Dion Pereira. I think you're going to maybe see some more of the younger attacking players that are maybe playing with the twos or whatever. I think you're going to see some of those guys too, just because you have to. You have to look at kind of that worst case scenario that could be coming up in a month or so, and then figure out what your plan of attack is if the worst were to happen and you do lose a lot of players for a while.
Villalba and even Pity himself, I don't think they're ones that are starving for rest, just because Pity has not only that, but Pity has it's not like he's been playing 90 minutes or even 70, 60, 65 minutes, on a regular basis. Typically he's been coming out of sub, and then lately he's been playing about 60 minutes, and it was only this last match that he played a full 90. I think it's the first time since the first time in MLS that he's played a full 90.
I think that's right.
I could be wrong. But the point is he hasn't been exerting as much energy as some of the other guys, for example, like Joseph. Joseph doesn't play full 90 most of the time. But you get what I'm saying, Nagy, Rometty, Gressel, you see them, you see their tired legs at the end of the matches as of late. So to see a guy like Justin Meram get signed, I would expect him to start. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying it's going to happen, because if PD is starting, you think that Frank DeBoer wants to keep that consistency at the number 10. But I wouldn't be surprised if for this match Justin Meram's playing the 10. I don't think that would happen, but I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen. Maybe push Pity out wide, or maybe further up top, or whatever. I don't think that would happen, but it'd be interesting to see, just because we've heard so much about Meram and his ability to dribble, and we've seen it. His ability to dribble, his ability to kind of control match.
Wouldn't you see him though in a less attacking or a less attack-minded Atlanta United?
No, because if he's not in that role, and I'm just kind of not even wishfully thinking. It's just a thing that I think would be interesting to watch, just to give maybe ease the pressure off of Pity for one match to be of being that number 10.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not the case, I don't expect that to be the case. But then he's coming in for either Gressel or Villalba.
Yeah,
and neither one of the, I don't think specifically Gressel. Gressel shouldn't, in my mind, if he doesn't play this match, I'm not going to be mad.
Yeah, I mean, Elliot here on the chat says rest Gressel, and it's like, I mean, Nagby and Parkhurst didn't even come, so you already know those guys aren't options. It's going to be a pretty thinned out squad. It's going to be one that, maybe don't start Gressel, but at some point you may need to give him a run out for 30 minutes at the end, just based on how the game's going. Ideally, I think Atlanta United in this game would be get a goal early and then drop the hell back.
I hope not. That's just not their style of play, though.
Well, it's not, but at the same time,
I hear you talking about the practicality of the situation, but that's a way to get just throttled.
Well, it is,
especially if you haven't been specifically working on that.
When you're playing hyper defensive and that's not something you're used to, that's usually, it's like the prevent defense. When you start playing that, that's when you give up chunks of yards. That's when you give up loads of space, and that's when all bad things can happen.
And it's not like these young guys are hoping to get in so that they can, protect the 1-0 lead. They want to go in and play the same system that they've been watching the last 9 matches. They want to go in and play and show Frank DeBoer what they can do in this system. They want to show Frank DeBoer what they can contribute to this team on a more regular basis, coming off the bench, doing what they got to do to get minutes. And that's not going to happen in a situation where they're having a bunker. They score 1 and they just sit back.
I totally agree with you. I would hope that that's not what they would plan on doing. More than anything, I talk about this all the time.
I would actually be pretty pissed off if Frank DeBoer did that.
Don't adjust and don't make too many adjustments. You should always try to execute your game plan first, because if you can do that and prove that you can do that against any sort of style, then you're going to make teams adjust to you. So I think that's probably also a very possible outcome or a possible way that Atlanta United comes out in this game, is that they're like, you know what, Frank DeBoer wants to instill in us, whoever's playing, that this is the style we're going to play, and we're going to make teams try to have to change what they do to play against us. So maybe that is a way that they go about it.
Yeah, my hope is that they don't really change much. They just continue doing what they're doing. That they just add pieces to the same puzzle. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Carlton got to start. Wouldn't be surprised if Dion Pereira got to start. Brecht's going to play just because Michael Parkhurst isn't there. LGP Miles, I would love for them to get a break, but I think they're too necessary on that back line. Franco Escobar, again, another guy that hasn't played enough over the course of the season because of injury to, I think, really warrant being that tired this early. Now, I understand the string of games is a different kind of monster, but just out of the sake of necessity, unless you've got Mikey Ambrose ready to go, you probably don't want to, and Mikey Ambrose isn't even right back, you probably don't want to, I wouldn't sub him off, or I wouldn't start him off the bench this match, me personally. Now, if he's seeing something different in practice, then yeah, obviously.
Back to the center backs for a second, though. I was just thinking about this. So I agree that in every possible scenario you can play Miles and LGP together because they're playing so well. Yeah, you need to do it. But at the same time, is that something you need to look at too? Because
LGP played like last year. Every minute last year.
He did.
I'm not really worried about it.
He did.
I'm not even really worried about Miles.
I would hope that that's the case, but do you need to kind of figure out another solution back there for the dreaded just in case?
Well, I mean, in that scenario, you bring in Michael Parkhurst
back over that side.
You're back to normal. And not back to normal because normal now is Miles Robinson at center back.
I would assume, Jeff Lorenowitz probably gets a start in this game.
Yeah, Jeff Lorenowitz. I would. Remetti I feel like he needs a break. I'm not 100%. Maybe that's where Justin Meehan.
The problem is, it feels like everybody needs a break. So what do you do?
Not everybody. See,
well, again, I mean, like Gressel feels like he needs a break.
Bijanma, I wouldn't give a break. I don't think needs a break.
Well, no, because he also hasn't started as many games as some of the other guys.
Joseph, I feel the same way because he's just a hoss. And plus, you've got Romario you can throw in there in the 60th minute. If you're asking Joseph just to play a game and a half, whatever, a half and 60 minutes, then that's not that much of an ask for a guy like Joseph Martinez.
You think we're getting a Carlton start?
I wouldn't be surprised, depending on where Justin Meehan plays. Carlton in for Gressel.
Yeah, I can see Joseph getting the start, and like you said, Romario
there's not much more
change
in. That's necessary after that.
No, I mean, honestly, if you had Joseph up top with, Bijalba, Carlton, and Pitti, as you're attacking.
Again, we know Brecht is going to play left back.
Yeah.
You would expect the rest of the back line to stay the same.
Franco will be the same, yeah.
Lorenowitz, Nagy won't be there, so honestly, probably not Remetti, and I would expect that. Again, maybe Justin in for that Remetti slot. Maybe just asked to play a little bit differently.
How much longer is Ambrose out, or is he?
I actually don't know.
What if you got Ambrose and then could you see Shea pushed into the midfield?
It might be a moot point because we don't know if he's available.
Of course.
But yeah, outside of that, look, I don't expect Atlanta to go into Vancouver and just start bossing Vancouver around. I really don't. I fully would be happy with the draw. I would be happy with like a nail-biting right to the finish. Oh my gosh, please pull away a draw or score one at the last minute. And I would walk away happy with that. Just get something out of this match and leave.
You're on a great run of form. We talked about the winning streak. Obviously, Orlando still has to beat you. Yeah, right now, I think the run of form this team has gone on, over the last month has kind of allowed you to maybe not have that sense of urgency that we had a month ago when a lot of the rhetoric about DeBoer out and all that stuff was kind of first really getting its flame on, so to speak, and kind of embering. But right now, you don't have as much pressure as you did. So I think and that's not even like on the team. That's more of like the fan base feeling that pressure and everybody getting up in arms about things. But I think that you've, at least with the last month or so of results, have put yourself in a situation where, if you weren't to go to Vancouver and get a win, nobody I think should really be crying over it.
Elliot in the chat says, Landon Schultz in the chat essentially asking if Dion would start over Carlton. He's saying Dion would start over Carlton. Look, if he does start over Carlton, I'm going to look at that as a sign that Carlton doesn't really have a place much longer on this team. Because if someone as new as Dion is starting over Carlton, who has gotten first team minutes in the past.
Yeah, but the system is different, though. I mean, that's the thing. It's knowledge of the system at this point.
I understand, but Frank DeBoer, we've already seen him tight spaces over Tito. So,
well, but yeah, we also saw him talking about Carlton recently and talking about his immaturity and needing to improve in that department, things like that. So
I'm not saying that that's not the case, but what I am saying is that if it's that bad, that Carlton isn't going to get a start as long as he's been here, as much as he's played already. Look, Dion looks like a fantastic player. I'm not crapping on Dion, but Carlton has not only been kind of a cult legend here. He's sort of been kind of a fixture on the bench, not necessarily off the bench, and he's just got that reputation of someone that's coming up next. And again, if that doesn't happen, if Dion is starting over Carlton, that's a huge bad thing.
Well, remember, Carlton didn't make the U.S. squad. You know, there was that U20 U.S. squad, and that was kind of a damn, I'm sure.
I mean, he's not playing. He's not in that squad because he's not playing.
Well, I know
that's not necessarily that's not Atlanta United's problem, and I think he probably knew that was coming.
It's just that's not been a fixture on the U.S. stage, though. That's the thing. Like,
yeah, but they're only going to take people they're only going to take players that are actually playing. They're actually developing at their club level.
Which is sad that it's not happening. I mean, he's been getting minutes with the twos, but no, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that it's an unfortunate situation because you obviously want your players playing in those kind of situations and getting that kind of experience.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's see.
I don't think we bashed Orlando enough.
Well, take it away, man.
Well, I just think more than anything, they came out and they were completely bossing the game around. And you do feel bad for them for not being able to put one in, but at the same time,
you feel bad for them?
Well, let me finish. I think the prevailing feeling from Atlanta United fans were, man, Atlanta United gave this team, Orlando, every opportunity to score, and they still couldn't do it.
I give credit to Guzan for the saves he made. And look, they should have, based off their press, they should have had at least one.
I'll say one thing I was upset with Atlanta United about was, you talked about the moment where Atlanta United scored, and it was a good little counterattacking moment there. I didn't see that enough from Atlanta United.
There weren't that many opportunities. I think Atlanta United was more concerned with, possessing and creating better opportunities, because those aren't good opportunities. Those are. Let's be real. Atlanta United.
Well, if you can get the numbers game, they are good opportunities. If you can, get the numbers thing going in your advantage off of a quick, counter. Especially with what Atlanta and look.
Yeah, they weren't trying. They were not doing that. It was clear that they were going over the top quite a lot.
I just think that Atlanta United is a team that, with Frank DeBoer putting in this system now, it doesn't necessarily mean. And look, we got to see him do it once against Orlando, and it worked great. But I don't think because of the speed that this team has on the wings, you should. I always thought you should try to utilize that more, and I think they've become a much more. They do play out wide. Obviously, you have a lot of talented players out there, but
I wouldn't say they didn't. I mean, look how successful Villalba was this.
He had a great game. He had a great game on that side, and he's continuing to play very well. We know what.
Do you feel like he's earned the spot?
Yes.
Right.
I thought kind of he had already earned the spot based on biding his time, based on being a good teammate, and based on what we've seen in the past. But none of that matters to Frank DeBoer. It matters about results and how it'll work in this system. And I
think as soon as Barco's back, he's back to the bench.
I would agree, but I think for now we're seeing it work very, very well. And then, it could be a situation where you can have sort of an amoebus blob there as you're attacking kind of quartet where you're probably not going to have it a whole lot, but you could feel comfortable putting a Villalba in and pulling out a Pitti, or putting Pitti in, pulling out Barco, and kind of having all those players and having those options in the attack, whereas you're not typecasting guys necessarily.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how he does assuming he plays against a team like Vancouver.
This could be a match where you're really, really looking at him to create, looking at him to be the spark.
Yeah, both him and Pitti.
Of course.
You want Pitti to continue to progress. You want Pitti to continue to – that's not saying he needs to score, but you want to see him continue to create chances, to continue to get involved in the attack, to continue to to be as dangerous as we know he can be at this point. The one knock against him, he's not very fast.
No,
not very quick, I should say.
Well, yeah,
maybe his top speed is there, and we just haven't seen it. But man, he gets beat to balls left and right.
Yeah, and maybe that's a thing about match fitness too. I mean,
maybe,
it has been. I don't know how much longer you can kind of use that as it's not really an excuse, but.
And I honestly don't remember if that was in his skill set based off like his highlights and whatnot. I mean, we all saw the passes he made. We all saw the shots, the goals he scored, and the shots he would take. Exactly, yeah. But you never really saw top speed or anything like that. And man, if there's one knock against him, it's the fact that he gets, at least me, the times he had an opportunity, kind of one-on-one to get a 50-50 ball, he was not there.
Do you think that part of
and that's not an issue. That's the difference between Acevedo and Pity.
I think
you're not going to get the same thing out of Pity that you got out of
No, but I think a lot of the performance kind of comes down to the fact that, and I'll even say P.T. Martinez not being the first to a lot of these balls, a lot of it is this team's worn out, man. They have played so many games in such a tight succession here, and it'll be nice for them to get some time off. But unfortunately, if you're a good player, you don't get very much time off because, again, a lot of these guys are going to be going off to their international teams soon. Yeah,
we'll see how everything pans out against Vancouver. Their last couple of matches, they got the 1-0 win over Portland last Friday. They beat Colorado 3-2. They drew with Philadelphia, who, remember, Philadelphia is top of the Eastern Conference right now, 1-1. Orlando beat Vancouver 1-0.
Oh, well, if Orlando beat them, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't had a great run of form the last 4 matches or so. But look, to be honest, their season has kind of hasn't started out great. You're right. They're 8th right now. They've got 12 points in 11 matches. -3 goal differential. They've allowed 14 goals. Not the worst in the league, but definitely it's about middle of the pack. I mean, they're definitely a beatable team. It's whether the guys that are filling in that are being rotated in are up for the challenge, whether they're going to produce, whether they're going to be there to. Because again, this is. I hope for the best, but I also don't expect this team to just absolutely crush Vancouver. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a back and forth. Atlanta United looks like a mess at times, because it's either youngins or like if Dion and Carlton are starting at the same time, I would fully expect something like that. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be one or the other, and then one of them is going to sub in for Bijaba or the other or whatever. It's not going to be different enough to warrant like a 4-0 loss. Like if it's a 4-0 loss, we're talking about it's a different situation. But a 1-0, 2-0 loss, 2-1 loss, it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. It's not a product of the system. It's just you're rotating people in. If you happen to draw, fantastic. You're going to take what you can out of this match, go back to the East Coast, and get ready for New York. And hopefully that's a team that this year isn't going to be such a hassle as it was in years past.
I think more than anything for this game, for me, I'm very intrigued to see how this team plays without Nagby, because he has been, when you have that position and that ability and that technique the middle of the field, when you have all those things and then you just take that away, I don't know if one person in the lineup that whatever it is can do all that he does, or if it's going to take a combined effort, but it's going to be a lot different.
The Justin Meram role, Justin Meram's going to fully step in for Nagby. I don't know why I said Remedi earlier. He's fully going to step in for Nagby.
Of course.
That makes absolute perfect sense. I don't know who's going to fill in Remedi if he even gets a break. I'm starting to think that maybe he doesn't get a break because
eventually, I mean, we keep saying it's like this guy needs a break, but some people just aren't going to get them. So it's
Lorenzo fills in for Nagby, then Nagby then Meram for
Remedi
No, Meram from Nagby, and then Lorenzo's for Remedi.
Yeah, I mean that
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm just thinking at that point you're looking at Gressel either being subbed in by Carlton or subbed out by Carlton or Dion, one of the two.
Yeah, and I think that's really it'll
be fun to see what happens.
That's really like the only big mystery at this point is, does Carlton get that opportunity, or does it go to Dion Pereira and Carlton is kind of left wanting? That's the biggest kind of question mark here for me.
Atlanta United right now sitting in 5th place in the Eastern Conference, 17 points out of 10 matches played. Still
the game in hand situation.
3 game in hands to the Montreal Impact, 2 games in hand to Philadelphia and DC United, 3 games in hand over Columbus, 1 game over NYCFC. 5th place. Considering the start of the season,
feels great.
10 matches in, feels awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They are 6 points away from the top of the Eastern Conference, which who would have had that discussion or made that comment 3-4 weeks ago? So, I mean, come on, that's 2 wins and hoping for the worst for Philadelphia, for DC, for Montreal. That's easily doable in the next 23 matches. 24 matches.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing.
No one should be freaking out if they lose on tomorrow night.
No, it's the motto of this podcast at this point is it's way too early. That's what we've been trying to tell y'all. It's way too early to panic. It's way too early to make rash judgments. It's way too early to
fire anyone.
It's way too early to judge whether Frank de Boer is a failure. There's just way too early for a lot of this stuff. There are some things where it's starting to become not as early as others. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about Atlanta United and the style of play under de Boer. This was one of the things that, a few months ago, and we were like, all right, this has to change or Frank's going to be in trouble. And a lot of these things did change. It was the style. It was the way that Atlanta United was going forward in the attack and those kind of things. And they have adapted. It's not nearly as slow and stale as it used to be. So those things are coming along quite nicely. So, yeah, I think that if we were still complaining about some of the things we were complaining about 2 or 3 months ago, then, of course, you need to, make some changes and things like that. But right now, a lot of the stuff that I think a lot of people were upset about a month or 2 ago, those things have been fixed or Atlanta United has kind of figured out how to play around them. So
they can at the very least, they can start backtracking on some of those things that they felt so strongly about.
Yeah,
there is enough time in this season. There's enough time in the Frank de Boer timeline of success failure for this to absolutely go to crap.
Oh yeah,
absolutely take a turn for the worse.
Oh yeah, there's enough time.
We can be talking about we can go back to that Frank de Boer out situation should that come. But right now, it's funny. After 2 games, everyone's ready to fire him. Now that he's won 4 straight, 5 and 6, no one's ready to turn that around. And then the way they were losing games, even with the chances created, wasn't enough. Now they're winning games and creating a ton of chances. Now that's not enough.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It will never be enough for some people. There's always going to be something to nitpick, something wrong. And right now, if you're an Atlanta United fan, what is there to complain about? I mean, you're the defending champion. The season has pretty drastically turned around here. And, yeah, there's some murky waters up ahead with some international competitions and things like that. But, as of right now,
I'm not really worried. It doesn't look like Pity's going to make the roster for Argentina.
You don't think so?
He hasn't made the provisional.
Well,
so
if he keeps playing the way he's playing, that could change pretty quickly. Maybe Atlanta United should not play him until they finalize their roster, then bring him back. So you have.
I know Bijadba has made the provisional roster. I think Pity was the only big name that didn't make the provisional roster for Argentina.
When's the Gold Cup provisional stuff coming out?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm focused solely on Atlanta United.
Well, no, Atlanta United does have Gold Cup players.
They do have Gold Cup players. I haven't looked that far into the future yet.
Well, of course.
I know it's coming. I choose not to look at it.
How big of a blow would it be if Nagbe and Guzan got call-ups? I mean, Guzan, I don't know if he's
there's a break though for the Gold Cup, so it's not going to be as hard.
It's not the same.
They might miss a match or 2 at most, but it's not going to be as hard of a hit as.
And the Gold Cup too. I mean, they can call up and drop down in between the group stage. I think so. There could always be something happening.
I'm not 100% familiar. I mean, I'm going based on what you're saying. I wouldn't know for sure. I don't know that's. I think there's enough of a break there where it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Well, hopefully that is.
All right. Anything else?
No. Just if you're a Hawks fan, go have a drink.
Yeah, that sucked.
8th and 10th. Yikes.
All right, so this week, again, we'll have the radio show tomorrow, 12:30 a.m., 106.3 FM, Atlanta Sports X on the radio dials. You can stream on the Atlanta Sports X app. You'll be here tomorrow, right?
I will be.
Josh will be here tomorrow?
No.
Josh will be here tomorrow.
I don't think I think if we would have done this tomorrow, he would have been here, but we can't.
No, all right, radio show tomorrow, regardless of who's here and who isn't. And then we'll have a podcast on Thursday should Josh be available, and we'll obviously let you know about that should it become available. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully he isn't, but slightly hope he is because I would like to talk after the Vancouver match and specifically how Frank DeBoer handles this rotation situation that clearly looks like it's happening. Other than that, you can find me at Eric G. Quintana on social media, or on Twitter, I should say. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Follow the podcast at MOTS Podcast. Donate to the podcast at patreon.com/MOTS Podcast. Make sure you make sure you subscribe to the new podcast feed through Dirty South Soccer on iTunes on your podcatcher. Search Dirty South Soccer. You'll get us and 5-Star Final.
Yeah, we sorry if we annoy you, but we're gonna keep reminding for a couple more.
We gotta plug it. Yep.
Yeah, we just gotta because we want you guys to be able to get the show in all the same ways you used to be able to get it. You can. You just have to kind of do one little chore there to switch over. At Sam J Franco for me on Twitter.
All right, that does it for us. Until next time. See you later, Atlanta.
Why'd you do it? Why did you do it, Khaleesi? That was crazy.